Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of RiesKitchen. Today we are making my lifesaver in Japan, onigiri. If you've never heard of them, you'll be in for a great treat. These are a fabulous street food that you can buy at railway stations, at convenience stores all over Japan, and they are fabulous and mostly gluten-free. Got to be careful of some of the fillings, but mostly gluten-free. There's not many ingredients, some of them are specialists though, so let's get straight into it, shall we? First up we have our rice, which is Japanese sushi rice or a short grain rice, some water, some Kewpie mayonnaise, some tin tuna, some rice seasoning, sea salt and the seaweed nori sheets. I first came across onigiri in Osaka and I found this fabulous little shop in the subway underground with two older ladies making these amazing onigiri. They had probably 20-25 flavours and today we're going to make two of my favourites. The first one is using this seasoning. Now here in Australia we can mainly buy two kinds of rice seasoning. The green one, which is made from broken up nori and sesame, and the purple one, which is made from perilla leaves and salt. The purple is absolutely my favourite. I'm not going to butcher the Japanese language by trying to say it. You'll spot it pretty easy. It's very purple. Delicious. The second one we're going to make today is called tuna mayo, which is pretty obvious because that's what's in it. This is just a tin of tuna in oil that I've drained, and then Kewpie mayo. Kewpie mayo is made out of egg yolk only, and it's sweeter than European egg mayonnaise, which of course you could use at a pinch, but this is easy to buy. It's just at my local supermarket. You don't need to go to a specialty store for Kewpie mayo. Now it's important today that we're using a really short grained rice. I called it Japanese sushi rice because that's how I buy it in my supermarket. Of course in Japan they have multiple different kinds of rice from different regions that all have subtleties, but I'm just using a generic Japanese sushi rice today. It's really important that we do a lot of prep of our rice before we cook it. So the first stage is we need to rinse it. So I'm going to be rinsing this 4 times in total. So the first time is I'm just going to pour some water in, enough to kind of cover it, and I'm going to just swish it, and you'll see that the water goes very milky very quickly as the starch comes out of the rice. So now I'm just going to drain that water off and rinse and repeat. So now for rinse 2, and you can see it's still white, but not quite as milky as before. So rinse 3, rinse 4, and you can see the water's almost clear. And now the final prep step, and I have to admit, I didn't know this until I did my class in Osaka earlier this year, is to cover and soak for half an hour. And this will help the rice soften a little and swell and bring out the sweetness of the rice. So let's talk about cooking our rice, shall we? I have to admit, when I was a kid, we used to cook rice just like you would pasta, in a big pot with a rolling boil going of water. That's certainly not the Asian way of making rice, which is the absorption method. I have here in front of me a beautiful donabe pot. It's a lovely ceramic, absolutely gorgeous pot. To make it work for induction, there is an extra plate that you can use, but because most of you won't have one, I'm not going to use it today. I really just wanted to show it off because I love it. It's just gorgeous. The piece of equipment that every kitchen should have is a rice cooker. Now this one is a 10 cup, so it's going to make much more than what we need today, but they are, I think, an essential in any kitchen. And it will just steam it and get the rice absolutely cooked perfectly for me in no time. Now you can definitely see now that I've drained the water, the soaking water off, that rice has plumped up a little bit. And so this is the important bit with the absorption method. Getting the measurements is pretty crucial. So I have 300 grams of dry rice that I've now plumped up, and I have 400 grams of water, which I'm going to pop into my rice cooker. Water. And now that'll take about 30 minutes to cook. So now while my rice is cooking, I can prep my nori sheets and my filling. So first for the filling, so with our Kewpie mayo, I want about 2 tablespoons. Just give that a mix. Now to prep our nori. So nori sheets, when you look closely at them, you'll see that they have some really fine lines, and it's easier to use the lines than fight against them. So to get them ready, I'm just going to fold it in half with the lines running lengthways along now my rectangle. And literally as I press it, and then I can just whip, and they're ready to go. So as I was splitting my nori sheets in half, you probably heard that crack. And that crack is really important to maintain when we're ready to eat them. And that's the fresh nori. When you put nori against the rice and it sits there even for a minute or two, it'll go soggy. And so there are 2 things that you can do. You can do, as we're going to show today, I'm going to hand roll some onigiri and I'm going to have my nori separate so that I don't put the 2 together until I'm literally about to eat them. Or you can use onigiri packets. The Japanese, of course, have a particular wrapper that you can buy. They're about 15 cents each, like they're not expensive. And I'm going to do some in here. So I'm just going to show you how to do that. So the packet, not sure how well the camera's going to pick this up, but the packet has 2 flaps. So with the one, you'll see they have the numbers 1, 2, 3, which are important for when we're going to eat them. Turn the one to the right, and then with a nori sheet, you slide it in the top, and you want to make sure that you get it under both pieces of the plastic, like so. And then they're ready for when we get to make them up. In the fabulous little onigiri shop in Osaka that I went to every day, the ladies made them by hand, and I'm going to do that as well today. But there is a simpler way in some ways. These moulds cost me $4 at the local Japanese equipment shop, and they will make life a lot easier. You do get a really good triangular shape, which it's a bit harder to do when you're doing by hand, and so they'll fit really easily into our wrappers. The wrappers require them to be about between 7 and 8 centimetres in diameter across the bottom. So if you're making them by hand, and you're going to use the wrappers anyway, don't make them too big. So that's about the size of the palm of your hand, roughly. So my rice cooker's done, so I'm just going to pop that and let some of that steam come out, because that rice is way too hot to handle. So let's start with making our rice seasoning variety, and I'm going to be doing these hand rolling and show you how to do that. So first up, I want to take out 150 grams, because I'm going to make 2 of the seasoning onigiri. So I've just got my digital scales there ready to go. So now I'm going to add a teaspoon of my rice seasoning. You can adjust this to your personal tastes, but a little goes a long way. So as you're stirring this, just be really gentle. We don't want to mush the rice. So now that that's cooled enough to not burn my hands, you can of course put gloves on or put a bit of Glad wrap or cling film on your hands. Wet the palm of your hand and sprinkle a little bit of your sea salt on. And then we want to put 75 grams or thereabouts into your hand. So now wet your right hand, and what we're going to do is just gently cup and turn and cup. We're squeezing it slightly to help us get into shape, but it's not a squeeze, it's stressful. Okay. And then once you have your shape, you can pop that down on the plate. So now let's make our tuna mayo onigiri. For these ones I am going to use my mould, and I'm going to pop them in my wrappers. So I want 75 grams of rice for each onigiri, but because I'm going to be filling them and topping them up, I'm going to put about 70 grams into each side. Now for a teaspoon of filling. And then just enough rice to cover over the top of my filling. That looks pretty good. Now the top of my mould. Put them in, gentle pressure. Sometimes you get a little bit of the mayo or the liquid coming up out of the top. This isn't too bad there. And then these groovy little pressure points. And voila, look at that. Don't they look magnificent? So again, a bit of water, a bit of salt. Whoops. Pick up my sheet, make sure that the one is at the top. Pick up my nori. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a roll in the salt on my hand. Then the ones at the top, I pop on top, fold this over, and you get to tuck them in. Whoops. Tuck, tuck. I haven't quite got that one in tight. Let's try that again. That's better. And then the packets come with stickers. Pull off a sticker, stick it down. And that looks like it's come straight from a convenience shop. Pretty excited. Now for all the details of today's recipe, don't forget to check out my blog in the link below. But as always, the best bit's in the eating. Now, these ones are pretty simple to show you how to do it. You grab your bit of nori, you grab your rice ball, wrap and eat. But to be honest, I'm going to give that to my cameraman Miles, and I'm going to eat one of these and show you how to do it. So, here's our packet. Remember, it's got a 1, a 2 and a 3. You grab the one, the little red tag, just one layer of plastic, not two. Rip it down and around. Grab number 2, which is the right hand side. As you pull it out, you pull out 2 layers of plastic. And then you grab 3 and pull that out. And now you have the best crunch. Listen to this. Golly gosh, these are good. There's a little bit of salt. The The rice is sweet, and I know we don't think of that very often. And then you get to the wonderful creamy mayo, tuna mayo in the middle. This is just a delightful snack, a delightful lunch. Great to take to work. These will keep in your fridge for a couple of days. Oh, they're just awesome. I love the Japanese, and this is a great snack. Until I see you next time, everyone. Ciao.